is episode 20. Got a lot accomplished in the last few weeks. Not without some major issues, but I got them figured out. EV West was helpful on helping me find what my problems were. It turned out I had one of the CAN bus lines coming from the DC-DC converter to the controller was interfering with the operation. So anyway, I got that straightened out. I found a few other little detail things I had to straighten out in the wiring, mainly contact pins on some connectors, but once I got that resolved, everything's working fine the way it's supposed to. I had some issues with bleeding out the brakes. Got that straightened out and working. The interior is pretty much all in, just have a few little detail things I need to do, but it's all in and looking pretty good. Anyway, that's about it. I'll show you what I've been up to. Thanks for watching. I've taken the car off of the dolly. It is now sitting on the arms from my two-post lift. What I found was I put the wheels and tires back on. The back of the car was sitting probably 2 inches too low, even with some adjustments I made here on the adjusters. So I'm going to make some spacers that go in between this adjuster and this pad. I think I need about a 3-inch. That way I can lower this adjuster way back down and get some more adjustment out of it. Yeah, the back was just sitting too low, so I need to raise it right around 2 inches in back. I had a similar issue in the front, only it was sitting too high. The springs were just too long. So what I've done is I've cut the springs down. I had these springs in the car, and these are some heavy-duty springs. The car was still sitting too high in the front, right around 2 inches. So what I found out is if you cut these springs off, if I want to lower this to 2.5 inches, you cut off about half of that distance. I just didn't want to do it to these new springs, so I took the old springs that were in the car and I cut those down. I cut them down about 1.25 inches, hoping that'll give me a drop of about 2.5 in the front, which should be just about right. I took about 1.25 inches off the two front coil springs, so that should drop it about 2.5 inches, which it looks about right. I wanted to keep it between 2.5 and 3 inches maximum, but I think it came out around 2.5. So I'm real happy with where the front is sitting. As you can see, the back is squatting a little too much. I'm going to have to add at least 2 inches in the back, probably 3. I ordered some aluminum material, 4-inch round stock, that I can turn down on the lathe and put some spacers between the adjuster and the spring pad on the rear. But as you can see, it is sitting too low on the back. I need to raise it at least 2 inches, maybe 3. These are the adjusters for the rear suspension. The springs sit on there and you can adjust the rear. I think because I have the upper mount is taller in this particular car, more than it would be in the BMW it was designed for. Even with this on here and adjusted up to 2 inches higher than down here, it still was sitting too low in the back. So I need to make another spacer. I felt I needed to go up around at least 2.5 inches, possibly 3 on the back to get it sitting where I want it to sit. So what I did was I made these aluminum spacers, or this is the first one I've made. This sits on the lower spring perch on the suspension arm, like this normally would. And I machined this, so this sits on there. So this is just over 2 inches. I think it's 2 1/8 inch. And that will give me the adjustment I feel I need on the spring. And that will sit like that. I have the rear spacers installed. These are the second attempt. I made these 1 inch thick. The issue I was having was getting these springs compressed enough to get them in there. You have to take the shock loose and drop the arm down, but I could only go so far with that. So this 1 inch spacer worked out okay. Wasn't too hard to get the spring in. I had to have the adjuster all the way down to the bottom to get it in. And right now it's about midway, so I can go a little bit higher or a little bit lower as needed. Yeah, both sides are in and ready to go. Yeah, these 1 inch ones worked out much better. The MG is on the ground and sitting where it's supposed to sit. I got the brakes all bled out and working. The emergency brake, it took me a couple tries, but got it adjusted. Had it too tight the first time, and then I loosened it, so we'll see how it goes. I've got some aluminum panels installed on the front. The brakes. I had to rebuild this master cylinder. It's a new one. It's a Lucas, the more expensive one. It was really tight when I got it. The plunger here, the piston that goes inside, it was really tight. And I thought, well, it'll just loosen up after you get some fluid in there. Well, it didn't. I had to fight it for a few days trying to get fluid back to the back of the car, and it just would not go. So what I ended up doing is I bought a rebuild kit for it, pulled this all apart, and what I found was the seals that originally were in it, I think they weren't sized correctly. After putting the replacement ones in, the new ones in the new kit, the piston moved more freely in there. And as usual, you got to start with the back first. This one is a two line system, dual system. So the rear and then the front. I did the rears first. They bled out really nice after replacing the seals in this. And the front ones, they came out a lot easier because it's a lot shorter distance. But yeah, the car's looking pretty good. Just have some more electrical work to do on it, testing and set some parameters in it and see how it runs. I've been working on the little lip that goes on the front of the spoiler. You can see some bolts here, nuts and bolts to hold them on. They came out pretty nice. These are made out of, originally out of wood, and then I fiberglassed them and then put some primer on them and then coated them with the vinyl wrap, the carbon fiber vinyl wrap. So anyway, it looks pretty good, and add a little bit of color to the front. Hopefully if it will save me from getting any scrapes or anything on this front lip here on the bottom. It's much easier to replace these than if they get scraped up than touching up paint and everything on these guys on that front spoiler. I've also, the stock horns were not working. One of them kind of worked, but I couldn't get the other one to work, so I bought these aftermarket. These are Hella horns. and they look kind of cool, I guess. I had to move the water pump up to the front. I was having difficulty getting it primed when I had it in the back. I think possibly because it was slightly higher than it is here in the front. It's pretty low. The radiator here is the lowest part of the system. So it's pretty close and it's working good now. They have a pressure sensor inside, and if there's no water being pumped through it, the pump shuts off, I think, to save itself. But anyway, it's working good now. I had to redo some of the plumbing up here in the front, and I got rid of this ugly bracket that I had it mounted to in the back. This is what it came with. I took this one off and made one out of aluminum here on the front. So yeah, it works out pretty good. It's pretty solid. It's pretty solid, and it's pumping good. These are the plates that the car came with. I did just get the new tags. I only got them for a year because in Oregon they do, if you have an odd year over here, then you're only paid through the next following odd year. But they're normally 2 years, but that's all right. It's bolted on the back. There's 2 bolts coming down out of the top here, and then I put a little Velcro pad on the bottom, so it's pretty solid. Anyway, license plates are on the car. I've been working on the doors. Before I remount the doors onto the car, it's a lot easier getting the panels and all of this all together before I remount the doors. All of the internal components are installed. The door latch, everything's ready to go. So what I'm going to do is pull these panels back off. They need to be off for installing the door to get to the hinge screws, which are in this area and this area. So anyway, yeah, it looks really good. The early MGs had these chrome screws. It was a little bit time consuming because I did have to re-drill some of the holes into the metal door itself, the inner door. Not all the screws lined up perfectly. They were close, but not quite there. Anyway, the doors are ready to go back on. I've been checking things underneath the car just to make sure everything's tight. I went ahead and put the rear aluminum panel on the bottom. After the sealant dries a little bit, I'll trim some of this off so it looks a little better. But anyway, the rear control box area is all sealed off. Okay, let's turn it on. Goes to the screen, and we're in neutral. There's a couple different ways you can put it in gear. You can either use the buttons here or the buttons up on the dash. To put it in gear, you have to press the brake on, so the brake regen light comes on, and we'll put it in drive. There's drive, and it lights up here. And I'll just lightly press on the throttle. And there you see the speed go up, whatever speed. This isn't adjusted yet, so I don't know if that's right or not. But anyway, and then let off slowly. Put the brakes back on. And then go back to neutral. That's all for this episode. Hopefully the next episode we'll be driving the car and we'll get some video of that. It's getting down to where we just have a few weeks left and it'll be drivable and on the street. Thanks for watching.